Welcome to this episode of our series entitled Of Sound Mind, which covers many topics on the continuum between healthy, normal aging and dementia. The series is sponsored by the Stanford Alzheimer's Disease Research Center. In this segment, we're going to feature a program called the Connected Horse Project, which is a very innovative program designed to help persons with early stage dementia and their care partners to have a better quality of life. The program represents a very strong collaboration among several entities, including the Stanford Red Barn Leadership Program, the Department of Psychiatry, the Alzheimer's Research Center, and UC Davis, the School of Equine Health, the Center for Equine Health at UC Davis, as well as several strong community partners that I'll be introducing in just a moment. I'm your host for this series, Dr. Dolores Gallagher-Thompson, and I've been involved with the Connected Horse Project for the past year as a research consultant so that we can determine the impact of this novel program on the persons with dementia and their care partners. Now I'd like to introduce our guests. I'll begin with Paula Hertel. Paula is co-founder and president of the Connected Horse. She has spent the last 25 years focusing on improving senior housing and service delivery system for older adults. She's particularly interested in this project because it is a novel way of helping people with early stage dementia, and actually there's very little out there right now for such individuals. Next we have Nancy Schier Anzelmo. Nancy is co-founder of the Connected Horse program. She is a gerontologist as well, and likewise committed to improving the quality of life of seniors, particularly in the housing field. She's been involved for over 25 years and is a professor at Sacramento State University and principal in the consulting firm Alzheimer's Care Associates. And last but not least, we have Dr. Claudia Sonder, who is a graduate of UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine. Currently, she's the director of the Equine Outreach at the Center for Equine Health there. She oversees their intramural research program for veterinary research and is responsible for securing funds to advance the program. Dr. Sonder has over 20 years of experience working in the field as a veterinarian and grew up riding and showing horses in New England. So we are very pleased to have this panel of experts who are going to share their wisdom and experience with us. And I'd like to begin with Paula. Paula, can you tell us what exactly is this Connected Horse Project?
Well, first, Dolores, thank you, because you were one of the early fans of what we were doing before we could even explain really what we wanted to do, but just our passion behind wanting to have programs that help people feel connected and supported in the community. So we wouldn't be as far as we are today if it wasn't for some of the early guidance and wisdom that you gave us. So first, thank you for that. But simply said, this program is an engagement program that allows the horse, the person living with dementia, and the care partner to work together to look at communication, nonverbal communication, increased confidence, and to just feel comfortable in your environment being engaged with your partner. So it's really about strengthening that relationship.
Mm-hmm. And the horse is the vehicle, so to speak, that you use to help with this?
A horse really is the partner. And when Nancy and I first looked at this curriculum, it was really about how do we bring people together so that they feel like they're still part of something whole, and they move out of their roles. And so what we found is that our care partners and the person living with dementia got into these roles of caregiver and a person with a label of a disease. And when we do this work with the horses, it equalizes it. The horse doesn't care. The horse wants to be in relationship with you, and the horse is going to give you that immediate feedback.
All right. Well, this sounds pretty interesting. Now, I'd like to know more about how it works. So, Nancy, can you tell us how does this
Yes.
program work?
Thank you, Dolores. Well, these equine guided activities are really important because it brings the pair together, and they're able to experience a new experience in a new environment. So it strengthens the relationship, builds communication skills, as well as gets them out of their comfort zone. So the roles begin to, as Paula said, come whole. People come together, and they're able to do things such as walking a horse, brushing a horse, spending time with the horse. And many people have never been around horses before, so that's part of the power of it.
Okay. Well, I think we can see some examples of this in the video that's going to be shown.
Yes.
Well, that was a very moving video, but it was completely nonverbal. So I'm wondering if you could share some of your ideas, Paula. What can we learn from watching that video?
Well, one of the premises that's so important to our program is to be in the moment. Get out of your head, get out of your list of things that you need to do, and be in the moment. And what horses teach us, because they do this as part of who they are, they have this innate ability to understand their environment and to know what's going on in their environment and react to it. So they give us that feedback. And so we do sensory walks with people so they come to the center, to the equine barn, and they're flooded with senses of smells, of sounds, of meeting the horses that they've never felt before and been around. And they start getting out of their head and into their heart and into their body. And one of the things that I think sort of says it so nicely is that we had a participant say, I've done all of this stuff for my husband. I take him to his doctor's appointment, I clean the house, I do his laundry, I make sure that he has everything he needs. But I never look at him the way I look at this horse, you know, and so it gets people reconnected on a very emotional level. Forget what we're doing, forget what we're saying, and let's connect on a heart and an emotional level.
Okay. Well, that sounds like that could be really helpful for a lot of people.
Yes.
Because we do live in our heads a good deal of the time. But I'm wondering, Nancy, if you can tell us a little bit about what you learned from that video, or what you would want us to learn, to take away.
Well, we see the person with the dementia diagnosis, their life changes once they get that diagnosis. So they can come there and learn to be present with the person that they're with. One woman told us directly, I feel like I have the tools now. This horse taught me the tools to make it through this journey, and in the prognosis, and felt strength. One participant said that he feels like he's going to fight it now. He's going to do everything he can. He's empowered. And we see that physically in both the care partner as well as the person with the diagnosis. Their posture, their communication skills, their engagement is just amazing, and we affectionately say, you know, we've done support groups for many years, but this is like a support group on steroids because it only is 15 hours that we spend in total in the workshop, and the results are amazing.
Okay. Well, I think our audience will probably be asking the same question that's occurring to me right now, which is, why horses? You know, there are so many other animals that have been used in therapeutic ways, in the home setting often, or in nursing homes. Why horses? So Dr. Sonder, can you tell us about that?
Yes, there's several things about the horse that make it ideal for this project. The dogs and the cats that we share our space with, they are not prey animals, they are predators. Their evolutionary biology is very different. The horse is an animal that has to be very in tune with its environment. It picks up cues, it watches carefully, and then it reacts to that environment, and that's how it stays alive. So even in their domesticated form, a horse looks for confidence, they look for leadership, they watch what's going on, they synchronize with the animals around them, whether that's a horse or a human, and then they reflect back the energy of that interaction. So positivity, confidence is rewarded through the horse with positivity and confidence. Fear, apprehension, or self-doubt, the horse wants to move away from that. And so the horse is a great tool for these patients to gain self-confidence. And just the mere size of the horse is, they gain confidence by being able to accomplish these tasks next to a horse.
And have horses been used with other patient populations besides persons with dementia?
They have, and we have demonstrated therapeutic effect and beneficial effect in patients who suffer from PTSD, prisoner rehabilitation programs, children who have autism or developmental disabilities. Again, the horse is a great way to create confidence and to create self-awareness, to really realize that what you're putting out there is going to come right back at you through the horse.
And I understand that you're doing some research with the horses at UC Davis, so not only providing a clinical service, but also researching this. Can you tell us about your research?
I can, and one of our goals at the Center for Equine Health is really to advance the health and welfare of horses. And we look at the geriatric horse in society. Geriatric horses often don't have the physical health anymore to serve as a recreational or a riding animal, but they're perfectly suited for this kind of interaction because they've got the mental maturity and the calmness to be present. And so in this particular study, we filmed the horses before and after the interactions with the patients to get a sense for the change, if there's a change in facial expression. What is this interaction doing for the horse? So we're measuring it from both sides. And this video that we have is a good demonstration of what we're looking at.
Okay, thank you.
So I think that's the interesting thing. But obviously the ears are very expressive, and the eyes as well. Everybody knows this horse that looks sad. This is also, you always get that in cartoons and stuff. It's a horse that looks sad, and that's mainly the eyes. And then we can look at the nostrils as well because they're so big and they can move quite a bit. So the nostrils are good as well, and the mouth as well. A lot of people actually see that the horse, when it's sort of skeptical, it will do some kind of thing with its lips, and when it's working and concentrating, it will do something else, and then when it's in pain, it will do something entirely different as well. So that's sort of the main areas that we look at. And then obviously the big muscles that run alongside the side of the face on the horse, you can see that they sort of tense up when they're in pain or when they're angry or whatever.
So is it possible that this program, the Connected Horse program, could benefit the horse as well as the humans who are involved in the program?
Yes, I do believe that's the case, and that's what we're studying. We're working with the Computer Vision Lab at UC Davis. This is really an amazing collaboration. We've got computer sciences, we have the Swedish Agricultural University, we've got many people who are working to investigate how to read the facial expressions of a horse. And will that help us to detect pain? Will it help us to better read our patient and teach our future veterinarians how to recognize those things? And so in this situation, the Computer Vision Lab is training a computer to recognize those key points on the face and to map them so that we can follow the facial expression over time and see how it changes in pain or no pain, but also in these types of social interactions.
Well, it sounds fascinating, and it sounds like there's a lot more to learn from all of these experiences with the persons with dementia, their care partners, and the horses themselves. So I think it would be good if we talked a little bit about future plans. You know, where is this project going? And it might help to say what we've learned so far. So, so far, I think it's been a successful program. There have been 40 individuals, 20 different dyads enrolled in the project, and they've reported a number of very positive changes as a result when they've been studied pre and post, and the information compared from before and after. We find that they have less sleep difficulties, they have less anxiety that they report. Many of them do report this sense of social connectedness that you've been talking about, but it may not be that common for a patient to say something like that, but they seem to be reflecting it as well. So, and I think it's remarkable that all of this has happened with only 3 sessions, actual workshop meetings that totaled 15 hours, I believe you
Correct.
said?
15 hours.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's possible that in the future the program might want to expand to be lengthier so that more time could be devoted to training and to the interaction, to working on more of the nuances, perhaps, of the interaction. And I think possibly we could have more follow-ups, you know, so that you could determine whether or not things last. You know, what happens as the dementia progresses, I think is an issue that probably needs to be looked at some point in the future. You know, but I'm wondering, what else do you all think would be important for the future research, for future plans and future directions? Anyone like to?
Well, we've done follow-up with our participants, and it is that sort of now what? Because they had such a great experience and want it to continue. So we have, sort of from the connected horse perspective, have the research piece that we really feel that it's important to broaden it and to look at different sites and to have a more longitudinal look at how long is the effect, how many times do people need to come for it to feel beneficial. Yes. But we also want to work with barns and people who own horses in areas where there isn't a lot of services, because we have heard from the horse community how eager they are to have their horses be of purpose and to continue for them to do good work, even if they're not in competitive sports anymore. So we are also starting to reach out to that larger community to say, how can we take this to a broader access so that people can really get the service?
Yeah, I think it also reflects back to what Dr. Sonder said about the geriatric horse, you know, having that the horse will have a purpose and meaning and is doing good, which it wants to do.
Right.
You know, now it has a vehicle or a mechanism for doing it. So I'm also wondering, is there a way that people can learn more about this? You know, if someone were interested in perhaps participating in the next study, what would they do? Where would they go?
We have information on our website and Connected Horse. We are recruiting right now for another workshop at the end of April, and it will be 3 sessions again. And we're really getting a lot of calls of people that are interested and they haven't had horse experience, or they've had horses in their past. And that's important that they're able to get involved. And so you can look at the Connected Horse website and get some more information, and we'll talk to anyone that's interested.
Well, what if I were frightened of horses? Suppose maybe I had a bad experience when I was younger with horses, and I'm a little bit wary. You know, what would you say?
We've had participants like that, Dolores, and it's amazing how quickly they overcome their fear. As Claudia said, with this large 1,200-pound animal, it's part of the magic of the horse being a mirror, and they overcome it very quickly. And we had one gentleman who told us he was a long time an executive in the military and said, I wish I had learned these skills in life a lot earlier, and now I can approach them with caring for my wife. So I think that overcoming that is part of the magic of the horse being a mirror to us and being in partnership with that horse.
So do you think that there are ways that people could be trained possibly to become facilitators? Because I don't think we've mentioned that, but it seems that there must be a degree of training involved in learning how to implement this program. Even if you are comfortable with horses, this is still a specific program. It's a scripted program with certain exercises that are included and other things that are not included. So how does one get training to become a facilitator? Anyone?
Paula?
Well, we at the Connected Horse are working on the curriculum, and that's one of the reasons why the research was so important to us, because we wanted it to have the evidence behind it, that this really is curriculum that's important to provide benefit. So you can feel good about going to the barn to go visit a horse, but this is a program that requires training for the facilitators. And so one of our next steps was, once we get through the pilot studies and the research, is to take that curriculum and offer facilitator training so that we can spread the training and to really become mentors for people who want to do this in other barns.
Well, and I might add, there's also would be a really important selection criteria for the horses to be involved.
Yes.
So in many ways, the geriatric equine, the older, experienced, little slower moving horse, is ideally suited for this type of project, whereas a young, more spirited or reactive horse, we wouldn't select to interact. So there's we're helping the geriatric bracket in both sides when we create a program like this, and then we give the horse that opportunity to have that interaction as well.
And I would imagine that you also would have some criteria for selecting the patients. We've been talking about early stage, as one of the designations that we use. Perhaps it would be helpful for our audience to hear a little bit about what early stage means. When we use that term, what are we really referring to? Because I'm not sure that it's a scientific definition, but most of us have something in mind when we use that term.
When the people call in about inquiry, we want to make sure we don't have an age restriction. So the oldest person that participated now was 92 in early stage, and the youngest was 53. And so it's bridging a lot of gaps in that. And they have to be physically able to participate in a 5-hour workshop and be ambulatory and walk and be engaged outside. They have to have a doctor's clearance, as well as the list of medications and, of course, the clearance to be in the research project. Our dream, Dolores, is to have this in many stables so that if they don't have a Stanford nearby, people will still have an engagement model that they can go out and do as a couple. So it gives hope to the pair that they can go out and still be engaged, and they go back to their normal life in roles without the defining diagnosis and role over them.
Yeah, that's why I think the longitudinal aspect is so important, because you do want to see, does this last? And I think it would also be very interesting, just like you're videotaping the horses, to actually videotape some of the interactions with the person with dementia and their care partner. I don't remember if you've done that.
We give them a photo book at the end, and one participant told us that every time someone visits their home, that she brings out the photos and goes through the experience over and over. And the care partner says, I've heard it so many times, but it's fantastic because it brings such joy and life to her. So we use photography and video specific to that person. We've emailed them videos, and one family told us that they watch it many times and they re-experience from the emotional level.
Yeah. I'm wondering, do people come back to visit? Do they?
We were just talking today about having a Stanford reunion. So they would like that very much.
Yeah, the trust that comes with that whole group, not only with the facilitators and the horses, but with each other, this level of acceptance within hours of that first workshop. It's like these people have known each other forever. And I think part of it is that, as far as we can tell, we are one of the only programs that we can find that have this for both the person living with dementia and the care partner. And sometimes people come in and think it's for one or the other, and quickly they realize that, wow, we are all getting something out of this. This isn't about an individual. This is about our relationship, and this is about us in relationship with the horse, us in the relationship with our environment, our influence on each other, our influence on the environment, and vice versa.
Well, and the horse gives non-biased feedback.
Yes.
The horse is interacting and reacting, and there are no politics, there's no history, there's no, and it's just there.
Yeah.
And they need to respond and react or change their approach, and they do that together. And it's an amazing thing to watch.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
remarkable.
I'm just thinking that perhaps taking it one step further, you would videotape the interactions that are going on amongst all three. And you would see, you know, does the way that the horse respond affect then the next type of interaction that goes on between the partners?
Yeah.
And
Well,
vice versa, you know, I
yeah.
mean, can you document that? We're saying there's an interaction, but wouldn't it be nice to be able to document
To really
that?
see it. I
Yeah.
mean, participants have told us that it has been really life-changing for them, and it's this awareness, like I talked about earlier, this awareness that I get into my head and the tasks that I need to do, and that if I remember, if I take a deep breath and go back in my mind to the barn, I start remembering what it's like to be in a relationship with the person versus doing for. I'm now being with.
And so much in the dementia field really focuses in the other direction. You know, focuses on all the losses that the person has experienced and the negative things that are ahead. You know, the future is bleak. And so really as a professional community, I think we've emphasized that far too much. And here's an opportunity to really bring positive hope, you know, and meaning into people's lives and give them a sense of empowerment.
Yes.
A word that you've used and I think is very appropriate here. So I think it's a wonderful project, and I believe that there are some ways that people could support the project too. Is that correct? Financially, if they were interested?
Yes, we are a not-for-profit 501c3, and so they can give a donation to help support this. It's all been funded by friends and colleagues, and we're looking for grant opportunities, and partnering with UC Davis has been fantastic. And
Well, hate to bring this conversation to a close, but we are running out of time, and as we have done with other segments of the show, I'd like to close by inviting you all to consider volunteering to become participants at the Stanford Alzheimer's Research Center. We cannot make progress in the field and find a cure or an effective treatment for the various kinds of dementia without volunteers. So the number that is shown on your screen is a number that you can call with questions. We'll be happy to talk with you, answer your concerns and questions, and hopefully you will participate in some of these longitudinal studies that we're sponsoring. So thank you for your attention, and thank you very much to our panelists.
thank you,
Dolores.
Dolores.